Welcome, dear dreamer of the cosmos. Tonight, we journey together into one of the moon's most mysterious realms, a place both breathtaking and perilous. It is known as the most dangerous place on the moon, where silence hides storms, shadows, conceal extremes, and every step could mean both wonder and risk. But do not worry. Here, danger does not chase you. Instead, it whispers softly like the wind through ancient stone. In this quiet space, you will not feel fear, but curiosity. You will feel the rhythm of science woven into the story, guiding you gently, like a lantern in the dark dot as you listen. Allow the words to slow your breathing. Allow the imagery to soften your thoughts. Together, we will explore the fragile balance of dust and light, heat and cold, danger and beauty, and discover why this place, though hostile, may also hold the key to our future among the stars. If you enjoy these journeys into science told slowly, with wonder and calm, I invite you to be part of this growing circle of listeners. Tap the like button if this story brings you peace. Share it with someone who also loves to dream beneath the stars. Leave your thoughts or reflections in the comments below. I love hearing how these explorations touch you. And if you have not yet joined, please subscribe so that each night you can return here to rest, to wonder, and to drift. Now, close your eyes if you wish, let your mind float gently free, and step with me onto the lunar surface. We stand together at the very edge of the most dangerous place on the moon. You arrive gently in the moon's quiet embrace, where every step stirs ancient dust. The silence feels endless, as if time itself has paused. Your body senses the weight of stillness, and your breath becomes part of the story. This is where the mystery begins, at the edge of light and shadow. You stand at the threshold of another world, a world so close in the night sky, yet so utterly apart from all you know. The moon greets you not with sound or movement, but with stillness so deep that it presses gently against your mind. There is no wind to carry whispers, no air to scatter noise. Only silence, stretching in every direction, vast and unwavering dot as you take a slow step forward. Your boot presses into the surface, and a small cloud of fine, gray dust rises, hovers for a heartbeat too long, then falls back again. On Earth, dust would swirl, drift, and dance in the air. Here, without air, it moves like a ghost in slow motion, a fragile fountain of memory that quickly sinks into the ground. Each step you take leaves a mark, a signature etched into soil. That has been untouched for billions of years. This dust beneath you is not ordinary. It is ancient, born of endless collisions, meteors striking again and again across vast ages of time. Without air or rain to soften it, without rivers to wash it away, it has remained sharp, fine, and ever-present. The moon's skin has been ground into powder, yet it is powder that cuts like glass, glittering with dangerous beauty under the cold light. You sense it clinging to your suit, eager to follow, unwilling to let go. You pause, letting your eyes adjust to the alien light. The sun shines above, but without atmosphere, it is unfiltered, sharp as a blade. Shadows are absolute here, black and solid, cutting across the surface with clarity unknown on Earth. A rock rests nearby, its lit face shining like silver fire, while the other side vanishes into perfect darkness. Light and shadow are not gradual here, they are absolutes. The world feels carved into two, brightness and darkness, each with its own gravity, its own secret. Your breath echoes softly inside your helmet, the only sound you hear. In this quiet, every inhale feels like a tide, washing in and out, a reminder of the fragile ocean of air that protects you. The silence of the moon becomes a mirror of your own body, every sound of breath, every beat of heart amplified against the endless quiet. You realize that here, Your body is the only moving thing, the only rhythm in a landscape that has not changed for eons. You look up. The sky above is black, even though the sun shines. On Earth, the sky would be blue, scattered with air, softened by the atmosphere. Here, there is only the void, a darkness unbroken, studded with stars even in the middle of the day. They burn steady, without twinkle, for nothing bends their light on its way down. Each star is sharp, fixed, unwavering, as if the whole universe is holding its breath with you. And then, without effort, your eyes find Earth. A sphere of color, glowing softly against the black. Blues and whites, greens and browns, all wrapped in the thin swirl of atmosphere. It looks delicate, tender, alive. From this distance, Earth does not roar with cities, or burn with industry, or hum with endless lives. It hangs in silence, small, enough to cradle in your hand if you reach out. For the first time, you understand how fragile home truly is, how thin the shell that holds your oceans, your forests, your air. You breathe again, slowly, aware of the rarity of that gift. Around you, the moon offers no such comfort. There are no oceans here, no trees, no sky. There is only the surface gray, gusty, uneven. Craters scar the land in every direction, some shallow, some deep enough to swallow mountains. Each one tells a story of violence, of rocks from the void crashing down, rewriting the landscape in silence. Unlike Earth, which heals itself with wind, water, and life, the moon holds its scars forever. Time here is carved, not erased. And yet, despite its harshness, the moon feels strangely gentle. Its gravity pulls at you softly. 1/6 of what? You know, your body feels lighter, your steps more buoyant. You push against the surface and rise higher than expected, floating for a moment before settling back down. Each motion feels like a slow dance, a rhythm suspended between earthbound weight and dreamlike flight. The moon invites you into a pace that is slower, calmer, more deliberate. You kneel, touching the ground. The dust slides between your gloves, refusing to pack or settle. It floats in your imagination as the ashes of stars, crushed remnants of celestial history that now cling to your fingers. Each particle may be billions of years old, unchanged since it first landed here. In this dust lies the history of the solar system, preserved in stillness, waiting for curious minds to uncover. The silence continues to deepen, and with it, your thoughts begin to slow. You notice how the lack of atmosphere means there is no horizon softened by haze. The line where land meets sky is sharp, as if the moon has been etched with a blade. Every hill, every crater stands out in stark relief, precise and unforgiving. The clarity is breathtaking, but it is also unsettling, as if nothing here can hide, and yet, even in this stark clarity, mystery lingers. You feel it in the shadows that stretch from boulders and ridges, shadows so dark they seem like doors to another world. You sense it in the dust, restless, unwilling to rest, charged with invisible forces that make it cling and float. You feel it in the silence itself, which is not empty, but filled with the weight of time. The memory of billions of years got you realize that this silence is not absence. It is presence. The presence of everything that has ever been and remained unchanged. It is the sound of stillness, the echo of a world untouched by rain or wind, untouched by voices, untouched by life. In this silence, you hear the moon's story without words, an endless, patient waiting. Your steps carry you across a small rise, and you stop at the crest. Before you lies a vast plain, gray and silver beneath the sun, stretching out until it falls into shadow at the horizon. The boundary between day and night lies ahead, sharp and clear, the lunar Terminator. It is here that light and darkness meet without blending, a line of contrast across the surface of the moon. You feel drawn to it, to this edge where extremes meet, where the mystery deepens. You stand for a long moment, breathing slowly, gazing at that border. On one side, sunlight blazes across stone and dust, brilliant and harsh. On the other, shadows gather, hiding cold secrets. You know that to cross this line is to step into a place of both danger and wonder. The edge calls to you, soft but insistent, as if the moon itself is inviting you into its mystery. And so you walk, each step quiet, each breath steady, carrying you closer to that borderland. The silence deepens still, holding you as if in a dream. You realize you are not merely standing on the moon, you are entering its story. A story written in dust and shadows, light and silence. The edge awaits, a place where night and day meet. Without dawn, where mystery lingers in every shadow. You walk toward it, not knowing what you will find, only knowing that you must step closer. Because here, at the border of shadow and light, the journey is only beginning. Here lies the lunar Terminator, a borderland between sunlight and eternal dark. The horizon glows with sharp contrasts, sculpting landscapes of both peril and beauty. Shadows stretch like ancient guardians, holding secrets beneath their veil. You walk this edge, where survival is uncertain and wonder is infinite. You move slowly across the plain, your eyes drawn forward to the place where light ends and shadow begins. On Earth, day melts gradually into evening, and evening drifts gently into night. There is softness in that transition, a sky painted with colors, air that glows with the memory of the sun. But here on the moon, there is no twilight. The sun does not set with warmth or lingering hues. It simply vanishes. One step in the light, one step in the dark. The boundary is absolute, as though the world itself has been cut in half. This line is called the Terminator, a simple word, for a place of profound contrast. It is here, at the Terminator, that you stand now, looking across a world that lives in extremes. On one side, sunlight pours unbroken, harsh and direct. On the other, darkness stretches endlessly, a cold without measure. You feel as though you are balanced between two opposites, like a tightrope walker between fire and ice. You pause to steady your breath. Even here, wrapped in your protective suit, you sense the danger of this borderland. Temperatures swing dramatically. In sunlight, the ground beneath you bakes, rising to hundreds of degrees. In shadow, it plummets, falling lower than the coldest places in the solar system. There is no air to carry heat, no breeze to soften the extremes. Every rock you see is caught in a relentless cycle of scorching day and frozen night. And here, at the Terminator, those two worlds press tightly together, separated only by your next step. You let your gaze wander. The shadows at the Terminator are like no shadows you have ever seen. On Earth, shadows soften at the edges, blurred by scattered light in the atmosphere. But here, with no air to diffuse the sun's rays, they are sharp, crisp, and unwavering. A boulder casts a darkness so deep it looks solid, as though you could lean against it and rest. Each crater rim rises like a blade, one side glowing, the other swallowed in black. Light and dark exist side by side, but never mingle, never soften dot as you walk. Your body feels the pull of the moon's softer gravity, each step a slow, deliberate arc. You find yourself listening again to your own breath. It is the only sound, but it is not lonely. The rhythm is steady, like a companion. With each inhale, you gather the mystery of the landscape. With each exhale, you give back a little of your awe. The silence is not empty. It is full of presence. You stop beside a crater. Its edge glows under the sun, silver and bright, while its interior sinks into blackness so complete that you cannot see the floor. You know that down there, in that eternal shadow, the temperature is colder than anywhere on Earth. For billions of years, sunlight has never touched those depths. They are vaults of darkness, keepers of secrets. You wonder what might rest within them, frozen relics of water, perhaps, or dust untouched since the beginning of time. The thought is both comforting and unsettling. The Terminator is not just a line of contrast, it is also a line of change. From this vantage, the angle of sunlight is low, stretching shadows into long fingers that reveal every detail of the surface. Tiny ridges appear taller, small rocks cast great shapes. Astronomers on Earth love this line, because here the moon shows its true texture, its scars and contours. In this raking light, the land tells its story with clarity. You see impact craters, overlapping like rings in a tree, each one a memory of a collision, each one a mark in the moon's endless diary of time. You crouch and scoop up a handful of dust. It slips through your glove like flour, fine and stubborn, refusing to settle. Quickly, this dust, called regolith, blankets the moon. It is the product of endless impacts, ground finer with each collision. Without weather to wash it away, it remains billions of years deep. You watch as the grains drift slowly back to the ground, unaffected by wind, because there is no wind. Each particle falls with its own small gravity, as if time itself moves. Slower here, your mind drifts with the dust, carried into reflection. On Earth, twilight is a time of transition, of reflection, of pause before night. Here, standing at the lunar Terminator, you feel that same sense of pause. This is not just the line between day and night, it is the line between known and unknown. On one side, light reveals everything, exposing the land in stark detail. On the other, shadow hides, concealing mysteries that only careful steps can reveal. To walk the Terminator is to walk the edge of curiosity itself. You begin to notice the quiet play of sunlight on the horizon. Because the moon has no air, the sun rises here like a sharp blade. No pinks, no reds, no scattered glow. Just a ball of fire lifting cleanly into a black sky. If you could wait long enough, you would see this slow dance in extreme patience. A lunar day lasts for 2 weeks, followed by 2 weeks of night. The Terminator creeps slowly across the land, covering and uncovering every rock, every crater, every valley. You realize that this line you stand on is always moving, always shifting across the moon's face, like the hand of a great cosmic clock. Time feels different here. Without clouds to drift or wind to shift, without life to measure the hours, only the sun's position tells the passage. You feel the strangeness of being caught between two timescales your own, with its quick breaths and beating heart, and the moon's with its patient, unchanging cycles. You are reminded how small your life is against this vast backdrop, and yet how deeply you belong within it. You take a few more steps, feeling the ground tilt slightly beneath you. Ahead, the landscape seems endless ridges glowing like silver fire, valleys swallowed in shadow. The contrast is mesmerizing. Your mind feels drawn equally to both extremes, to the bright clarity of light and the hidden secrets of darkness. You realize that this is what makes the Terminator so compelling. It holds both revelation and mystery, side by side, without compromise. You imagine explorers of the future walking this same line. Scientists studying ice hidden in shadows. Engineers testing machines that must endure both heat and cold. Dreamers simply gazing into the blackness. This border will always be a place of challenge, but also of possibility. It is a place that asks questions without answers. A place that invites you to wonder. Your gaze lingers again on the horizon. The shadows stretch so far, like fingers pointing into night. You wonder what lies in those hidden places, in the craters where the sun has never touched. Perhaps frozen water waits there, fragile and pure. Perhaps unknown minerals, silent witnesses. of cosmic history. Or perhaps only dust, endless dust, guarding its secrets. You let yourself breathe deeply, slowly. The rhythm of your breath matches the rhythm of the line before you inhale light, exhale shadow. You feel calm, but also awake with curiosity. You are balanced between extremes, poised in a world that is both hostile and beautiful. The silence feels eternal, yet your presence here gives it meaning. And as you walk further along the Terminator, you feel the story pulling you onward. The dust that rises at your feet, the shadows that cling to the craters, the play of light on stone, all of it whispers of deeper mysteries. You know this is only the beginning. Beyond the contrast of light and shadow lies something more. Danger hidden in plain sight, a secret written in the very dust beneath your feet. You take one last look at the line, sharp and unwavering, dividing the world into two. You step closer into the edge of shadow, and as you do, a question stirs. Gently in your mind, what is it about this dust, this endless blanket of gray, that makes the moon both alluring and dangerous? The moon's dust is finer than powder, sharper than glass, and restless in silence. It clings to everything: your suit, your skin, your very breath. Without air or water, it never smooths away. It only waits to be disturbed again. This is the soft, dangerous blanket that covers the moon's face. You take another slow step, and again the ground rises to meet you. A puff of fine gray dust lifts upward, a fragile cloud that floats for a moment too long before falling back to the surface. You watch it with fascination, this dance of weightlessness, this drift of ancient powder. On Earth, dust disperses into the air, carried by currents, stirred by the invisible winds. But here, on the moon, there is no air to scatter it, no breeze to carry it away. Each grain falls back exactly where it began, as if reluctant to leave. The home it has known for billions of years. The dust is everywhere. It coats the surface in a blanket that stretches across the entire moon, a soft shroud covering craters, mountains, and plains. From a distance, it looks harmless, even delicate, like the ash left behind after a fire. But up close, you realize it is something far more complex. This dust, called lunar regolith, is not smooth or gentle. It is jagged, sharp, and unyielding. Each particle is like a tiny shard of glass, fractured by endless collisions, unrounded by wind or water. It clings, it scratches, it resists. You bend slightly, lowering yourself closer to the surface. The grains catch the sunlight, sparkling faintly like powdered stars. They are fragments of rock and mineral, the crushed remains of meteorites that struck with unimaginable force. Every impact shattered stone into pieces, and every piece was shattered again until only this powder remained. Unlike the sands of Earth, which have been softened by waves and rivers, lunar dust never knew the touch of flowing water. Its edges are sharp, its texture dry and restless. You press your glove gently into the ground and lift it again. The dust clings stubbornly to the surface, sticking as if magnetized. This is one of its mysteries. Without moisture, without static in the way you know it, the dust still clings to everything it touches. Scientists believe it becomes electrically charged by the sun's radiation, its tiny grains lifted and made to hover in slow arcs. Some even rise and drift across the surface, forming a thin haze at the horizon, like a ghostly veil of powder. To walk here is to walk through a world where even dust seems alive. You take another step, and again, a small cloud rises, swirling lazily before settling. This repetition feels meditative, as though each puff of dust is breathing with you, rising and falling in rhythm. But behind this beauty lies danger. Astronauts who once walked here found the dust clinging inside their suits, scratching their visors, clogging seals and joints. They carried it back into their spacecraft, where it floated in the air, irritating their throats and lungs. They described its smell as something like burnt gunpowder, sharp and metallic, though no fire had ever touched it. Dust had become both, a companion and a threat, a reminder that even the softest blanket can be dangerous. You pause, letting the stillness sink in. Imagine a world wrapped in dust for billions of years, without rain to wash it away, without wind to sweep it clean. Each grain is a memory, untouched, unmoved, carrying within it the record of ages. Some grains contain tiny beads of glass, formed in the heat of meteors striking at cosmic speeds. Others hold traces of elements scattered by ancient stars. In this dust lies the history of the solar system itself, written in fragments too small to see but too important to ignore. You reach down again, gathering a handful in your glove. It falls slowly between your fingers, drifting back to the surface. Watching it feels like watching time itself slip away slow, deliberate, unwilling to vanish. This is not dust that settles and disappears. This is dust that remembers. Steps carry you further, and soon you notice how the dust changes with the light. In the bright glare of the sun, it shines silver and pale, each grain catching light like frost. In the shadows, it darkens, swallowing brightness, becoming almost black. From orbit, astronauts have seen how the moon's surface shifts color depending on angle and light, sometimes glowing faintly with a strange, otherworldly glow. Scientists believe this, too, is the dust-charged, scattered, restless, reflecting sunlight in ways that trick the eye. You pause near a ridge where the dust is piled deeper, soft as snowdrift. Your boots sink slightly, leaving a trail of prints. They look permanent, untouched by wind or weather, as though they will remain long after you have gone. Indeed, they may. Without air, without rain, footprints on the moon can last for millions of years, preserved in silence. Every step you take becomes a mark in eternity, a trace left on the soft skin of a world that does not forget. And yet, even as it records, the dust resists. Its sharp edges cut into fabric, into seals, into filters. Machines clog, surfaces scratch, lungs protest. It is soft to the eye, but harsh to the touch. To survive here, humanity must learn not only to walk upon this dust, but to live with it, to understand its stubborn presence. The moon offers no forgiveness for carelessness. Even its dust demands respect. You reflect on this paradox, the beauty and danger bound together in these grains. The dust is like memory itself, clinging, lingering, sometimes painful, but also rich with meaning. To walk across it is to walk across history, to stir the remnants of creation, to leave behind traces of your own existence. You are both guest and participant, disturbing the silence while becoming part of it. Your eyes wander again to the horizon, where faint light seems to shimmer just above the surface. Some astronauts once reported seeing a glow there, a strange luminescence, as though dust was suspended in the air. But there is no air. Instead, these particles may have lifted in slow arcs, carried by the invisible hand of solar radiation, rising and falling like tides made of powder. Imagine a world where even dust forms waves, where the tiniest grains respond to the breath of the sun itself. You find yourself mesmerized by the thought. The moon, though silent, is never still. Every grain is in dialogue with light, every shadow shaped by particles too fine to see. To understand this dust is to understand the moon itself, a world shaped not only by stone and crater, but by the restless veil that covers it all. You take another slow step, feeling your weight sink lightly into the powder. The dust rises once. More, a gray halo around your boot, and falls back again. You realize that this simple act, stepping, sinking, watching dust rise, is a meditation. It reminds you of breath, of rhythm, of cycles without end. The dust that rises always returns. The breath that enters always leaves. The silence that surrounds you always remains, and in that silence, you sense the connection to something larger. This dust is not only the moon's, it is the universe's. Born from impacts, from explosions, from stars themselves, it carries within it fragments of everything that has ever been. When you touch it, you are touching more than the moon. You are touching time, creation, memory. You are touching the edges of infinity in grains too small to see. You close your eyes for a moment, breathing slowly, letting this realization settle. The dust clings to your suit, stubborn and restless, and you know it will not leave easily. Just as memory clings, just as history follows, so too does this dust hold on. It is both weight and gift, challenge and treasure. When you open your eyes again, you look once more at the trail of footprints behind you. They stretch into the distance, small but undeniable, marks left upon a surface that has waited in silence for billions of years. And you wonder how many more footprints will follow. How many more explorers will walk here, stirring dust that has waited so long to be disturbed? How many new stories will the moon's surface hold? The thought lingers as you take another step, your boots sinking softly, the dust lifting once more. You are reminded that even here, in a world without air, nothing is ever truly still. The dust rises, falls, clings, waits. It is always ready to move again, always ready to tell another story. And as you move forward, carried by the rhythm of your own steps, a new thought begins to form. If dust can hold memory, if dust can conceal danger and beauty alike, what might the shadows conceal? What lies in the places where the sun never shines, where dust has gathered in darkness for ages beyond imagining? You walk toward those shadows now, each step stirring clouds that will linger long after you are gone. Step into the darkness of a lunar crater, where sunlight never enters. The temperature falls lower than anywhere on Earth, colder than deep space itself. Yet in these frozen vaults, hidden treasures may lie. Here, danger and discovery sleep side by side. You stand at the rim of a crater, and before you open a world of shadows. The moon, so brilliant in the sunlight, wears a mask of darkness here. The sunlight touches the rim above your head, but it dares not enter this pit. What lies below is silence within silence. A chamber that has not felt the warmth of a single dawn for billions of years. As you peer over the edge, you feel the pull of curiosity mixed with caution. This is no ordinary shadow. On Earth, a shadow is temporary, a gentle pause in the light. But here on the moon, shadows can last forever. The moon's tilt, unlike Earth's, is slight only a fraction of what you know from home. Because of this, the sun never climbs high in its lunar sky, and some craters at the poles remain sealed at night. They are called permanently shadowed. Regions, places where light has never reached and never will. You take a step forward, and the silence deepens. Inside these craters, the temperature drops to extremes that are hard to imagine. Colder than Antarctica. Colder than the empty space between the planets. Instruments from orbit have measured it. Minus 250 degrees Celsius. A stillness so cold that atoms themselves slow to near quiet. In these vaults of darkness, even heat seems afraid to enter. As you descend, you picture the surface beneath your feet. It is dust and rock, the same lunar regolith that blankets the rest of the moon. But here, something else hides beneath this dust. For billions of years, comets and asteroids carrying ice have struck the moon. On the sunlit plains, that ice would have quickly vanished, evaporated into the emptiness of space. But in these shadowed craters, the ice has nowhere to go. No warmth to melt it, no sunlight to erase it. And so, it stays, preserved across epochs. You imagine the ice glimmering faintly, locked in grains of soil or spread as frost along ancient walls. It is not like the lakes or glaciers you know from Earth. It is fragile, delicate, hidden within the dust itself. To disturb it would be like touching a memory that has been sleeping since the solar system was young. Pause here. Feel the weight of that thought. You are standing in a place where the history of the universe has been kept, safe and untouched, waiting for the moment someone might find it. And yet, this silence is not only gentle, it is dangerous. For you, as a traveler in this shadow, the cold is not just absence, it is a threat. Your body knows warmth. It depends on it. Without a suit, without protection, this place would pull the heat from you faster than a breath could form. Even with all your technology, you sense how hostile the silence is. The shadows are not empty. They are full of cold, a presence that presses on your awareness like an invisible stone. But within this danger lies possibility. Scientists dream of what this ice could mean. For explorers, ice is more than frozen water. It is life. It is air to breathe, water to drink, and fuel to carry you onward, split into hydrogen and oxygen to power a ship. In these frozen vaults may lie the resources that one day sustain a colony, a stepping stone to the stars. You picture a future where others walk here, carefully harvesting the frost, melting it drop by drop into streams of survival. You imagine greenhouses fed by lunar ice, tiny worlds of Earth thriving within domes of glass. The thought brings warmth to the cold, the idea that even here, in silence and shadow, life can find a way to persist. The ground crunches softly under your boots, though you do not truly hear it. The moon has no air to carry sound. Instead, you feel the vibration in your bones, a whisper of contact. Each step reminds you that you are touching a place untouched for billions of years. Every footprint becomes part of a story, older than life itself. Look around you. The walls of the crater rise steep and sheer, their jagged faces frozen in eternal twilight. They look almost like cathedral walls, enclosing a space meant for reverence. Above, you can still see the rim glowing faintly with sunlight, a crown of light encircling the darkness. It feels almost sacred, as though the sun itself bows respectfully at the edge, refusing to intrude on the chamber within. And in this hush, your mind drifts to thought. Cold, after all, is not a thing itself, it is the absence of heat. A reminder that the universe is not balanced equally between warmth and life. For every star that burns, there are vast stretches of space where heat fades into nothing. These lunar craters are small mirrors of that truth. They remind you that the cosmos is not designed for your comfort, but for its own quiet unfolding. You pause again, and in the pause, wonder rises. What secrets are locked in this ice? Perhaps molecules, older than the Earth itself. Perhaps chemical signatures that whisper of how water arrived here, whether delivered by comets, formed by solar winds, or carried from the birth of the solar system itself. To hold such ice is to hold time, to cradle the memory of beginnings. You feel yourself becoming part of that story. The moon is not alive, not in the way Earth is, and yet in these shadows it has kept something precious, as though waiting for you, waiting for someone to look closely enough, to listen deeply enough, to find what has always been here. The cold presses in further as you descend toward the crater floor. You can almost imagine frost crunching faintly beneath your steps, though you know it would take more than sight to find it. The instruments that circle above, orbiters with their keen sensors, have seen the hints. Bright patches in radar images, neutrons that betray the presence of hydrogen, a whisper of ice in the regolith. Enough to awaken dreams, but not enough to reveal the whole truth. And so the mystery deepens. You take a long breath, letting the thought linger. This place is both a vault and a question. A vault of ice sealed against time, and a question about what that ice can tell you, what it can give. To step here is to feel both awe and responsibility, the delicate balance of discovery and preservation. The moon has kept its secrets patiently, and perhaps it whispers to you now, do not rush, do not disturb. Listen first, the shadows deepen. As you pause at the floor of the crater, you stand within a pool of darkness, surrounded by walls that hold both silence and story. The ground beneath you is cold beyond measure, and yet, in your mind, warmth flickers. The warmth of knowing that, even in the most dangerous, most lifeless places, there is still something to be found out, and here, your thoughts stretch beyond the crater. If ice can rest here, untouched for eons, what else might the universe be hiding in its coldest, darkest corners? Could there be other vaults of memory scattered across planets, moons, and asteroids? Could the very building blocks of life be? Sleeping in shadows, waiting for light, or for someone curious enough to search? You do not know. But the thought is gentle and vast, like the silence itself. The rim above glows faintly, reminding you of the light beyond the shadow. It is there, waiting. You are between two worlds now. The world of darkness where ice lies hidden, and the world of light where dust rises in brilliance. You sense that both are part of the same story, both necessary to understand the moon. And so you pause, letting the silence settle around you. You close your eyes, imagining the frost locked beneath your feet, the treasures that slumber where no dawn can ever reach. The mystery of cold has wrapped itself around you, but beyond it lies another question. Because the moon is not only made of dust and ice, it is made of scars. Great wounds etched across its surface, craters that tell of impacts so powerful they shook the world. And those scars, like these shadows, hold stories older than life. You feel yourself drawn upward again, toward the thought of those ancient marks, the records of violence and survival dot, and so, standing at the threshold of shadow and memory, you wonder softly, if the moon has kept its ice for you, what else has it kept? Cross now into the lunar day, where the sun blazes without mercy. No clouds, no atmosphere, only raw heat flooding the surface. Stone and dust shimmer like fire beneath your feet. Your body longs for shade, yet shade itself can kill. You step forward from the frozen stillness of the shadow into the piercing blaze of lunar day. The boundary between night and day on the moon is as sharp as a blade one side eternal darkness, the other flooded by relentless light. On Earth, the sun's rays are softened, filtered by the blanket of atmosphere. Clouds drift and scatter the glare. Winds move the warmth gently from place to place. But here, standing upon the moon, there is no such veil. Nothing diffuses the light. It strikes the surface raw and pure, like a magnifying glass focusing a beam on dry paper. The sunlight does not shimmer. It does not dance. It falls with a brutal steadiness, unfiltered and unyielding. Beneath your feet, the ground begins to radiate its own intensity. The dust and rock, gray and ancient, absorb the flood of energy and answer by glowing with invisible heat. You can almost hear it, though in truth, the silence here is perfect. It is the silence of a furnace, roaring without sound. The temperatures soar far beyond what feels natural. On Earth, the hottest desert may bake the sand to searing levels. Yet even then, the air around you softens the extremes. A breeze may stir. Shadows give relief. But here, on the moon's sunlit surface, no air carries the heat away. The regolith, the blanket of fine lunar soil, becomes a cruel mirror, holding and radiating the warmth. Temperatures rise above 120 degrees Celsius, hotter than the boiling point of water. It is a heat that does not relent, because there is no weather to shift it, no cycles of wind and rain to cool the ground. You walk carefully, imagining your boots pressing into this burning dust. Even with layers of protection, you feel the sun's unforgiving presence. It is not the warmth of comfort. It is exposure, the kind of heat that strips away, that leaves no margin for mistake. For astronauts who dream of returning here, the challenge is not only surviving the cold of shadow, but also enduring the blaze of light. The moon is not one world, but two, an icebox and a furnace, placed side by side. As you look out across the landscape, you notice the way the rocks cast shadows. They are not gentle, not blurred. Each shadow is knife-edged, perfectly defined. This, too, is because there is no air. On Earth, light scatters. Shadows fade softly at the edges, wrapping objects in a veil of gray. Here, there is only sharpness. The blackness of shadow is absolute, its edge as straight as if drawn with ink. To stand in that blackness would mean sudden relief from the burning glare, but it is not safe, for on the moon, shade is as dangerous as light. Step into the darkness, and the temperature does not simply drop, it collapses. In the vacuum, there is no gradual cooling, no middle ground. Your body would be forced to endure extremes with no buffer. The same dust that bakes to a furnace in. The day hardens to brittle ice and shadow. Safety lies not in light, not in darkness, but in balance, a balance that nature itself does not provide here. You imagine the sun overhead, its disk unblinking against the black sky. On Earth, even at noon, the sky is blue, soft, carrying the illusion of depth. Here, the sun hangs against emptiness. No air scatters its light into colors. The stars are gone, invisible in its radiance. You are left with contrast, the blinding sun, the sharp-lit land, and the infinite black that holds them. It is a vision both simple and overwhelming, like staring into the very idea of exposure. Think of your skin on Earth, warmed by sunlight. You feel its touch, its glow. Plants stretch toward it, using it as fuel. Our entire world thrives because sunlight is softened, parceled, distributed by the atmosphere and oceans. Without this moderation, sunlight is not nurturing, it is merciless. The moon shows you this truth. It reveals sunlight as it truly is, a stream of raw energy pouring through space, powerful enough to sculpt climates and carve shadows, unforgiving. When unfiltered. As you stand in the light, you recall how astronauts of the Apollo missions described the surface. They spoke of the glare, the way the horizon shimmered white-hot, the way the ground seemed to radiate light back at them. Their visors, coated in gold, were not decoration but necessity. Without them, the sun's brightness could sear their vision. The moon, they said, was not gray under the sun but blinding, reflective, difficult to gaze at directly. The unforgiving heat was not just a physical sensation, it was a psychological presence. To walk here is to be constantly reminded that this world is not made for you. Your suit is a fragile cocoon, keeping you alive between the furnace and freezer. Your body, evolved in Earth's gentler balance, longs for moderation, for clouds, for breezes, for the softness of twilight. But here, twilight is only a line, a boundary that offers no pause. Either you are burning or you are freezing. And so, survival demands more than bravery. It demands precision. To explore the moon is to dance carefully between extremes, never leaning too long into light or shadow. The moon teaches you something profound, that life, as you know it, is not simply possible anywhere. It is a delicate negotiation with balance. It thrives only where the forces of nature temper one another, where fire meets water, where heat meets coolness. Here, stripped of those tempering hands, you see how thin the margin truly is. The rocks at your feet have endured this cycle for billions of years. Imagine them, burned by light, chilled by dark, again and again. They have no softness left. They are brittle, fractured, scarred by the violence of sudden change. Each grain of dust is a fragment of this history, sharp because It has never known the smoothing of wind or water. In the light, these grains heat rapidly, holding their warmth like coals. You imagine how they would cling to your gloves, stubborn and abrasive, glowing invisibly with the heat of the day dot as you continue walking. You begin to sense how this landscape could wear down, not just machines, but the human spirit. Heat without relief, silence without motion, brightness without shade. Yet there is something strangely calming in this honesty. The moon hides nothing. It does not soften or deceive. It shows you sunlight as it is, shadow as it is, temperature as it is. There is no pretense. And in this rawness, you find a kind of clarity. You pause, closing your eyes for a moment. In the silence, you imagine the heat pressing against your suit, radiating into you. You breathe slowly, knowing your air is your own small ocean, the only buffer between you and the void. It feels fragile, but it also feels profound. Each breath reminds you of the balance that sustains you. On Earth, this balance is invisible, taken for granted. Here, you cannot forget it for even a second. The heat of the moon is not only a challenge, it is also a story. It tells you what sunlight truly is, the pulse of energy that drives everything you know. Without it, there would be no warmth, no growth, no life. With too much of it, there can be no survival. The lesson is simple. An eternal life lives not in extremes, but in the gentle space between. You open your eyes again and gaze across the horizon. The landscape stretches without motion, every rock lit as if in a photograph. There is no time. Here, no change in the air, no drifting of light. It is a still frame, yet it is alive with extremes. The heat continues to rise, relentless without pause. You wonder how long you could endure it, how long your fragile suit could shield you. And you wonder what secrets lie hidden, not in the blazing day, but in the places where the sun never shines. Buried deep in shadowed craters, tiny crystals of ice endure. They are fragile, precious remnants of comets and cosmic rains. Touching them feels like touching time itself, frozen for billions of years. These secret reservoirs may one day carry human life forward. You step away from the searing brightness of the lunar day and let your eyes fall into the darkened hollows scattered across the moon's surface. Here, in these basins of perpetual shadow, lies a secret as delicate as breath. Water that is not water, ice that does not glisten, frozen crystals of history waiting quietly in the cold. The moon has no rivers, no oceans, no clouds to drift across. Its sky. There is no gentle rainfall, no trickle of streams carving their way through valleys. For billions of years, it has been a dry, airless world, a place stripped of weather and storm. And yet, against all odds, tiny reserves of water still remain, tucked into corners so cold, so untouched by sunlight, that they have survived since the earliest days of the solar system. You walk closer to one of these craters. Its rim rises like a broken crown, jagged and worn from ancient impacts. Beyond the rim lies darkness so pure, it feels solid, like a curtain draped over the surface. This is a place where the sun has never risen, not once in billions of years. Here, the ground has been locked in shadow since the crater's birth. Temperatures plummet lower than anywhere on Earth, colder even than the most distant reaches of Antarctica's nights. In such bitter cold, molecules of water cannot flee. They settle. They stay. But the word ice here is misleading. You expect something glassy, transparent, shining with frost. Yet lunar ice is not the familiar frost of a winter morning, nor the thick gleam of a frozen pond. It hides itself in grains of dust, mingled with soil, scattered like faint whispers. Some of it clings as microscopic crystals, bound into the regolith. Some rests as pure patches, thin sheets coating the floor of these eternal shadows. To find it is not like uncovering a glacier. It is like gathering ashes, like collecting traces of memory. The story of this water is older than any footprint, older than Earth's oceans themselves. Long ago, comets wandered inward from the outer solar system, icy nomads born in darkness. They struck the moon with fierce abandon, breaking apart in fire and scattering their frozen cargo across the surface. Some of that water evaporated instantly, carried off into space, but some of it found refuge in the coldest hollows. There, shielded from sunlight, it stayed. Meteorites too may have brought water, carrying minerals that released vapor upon impact. And perhaps even the sun contributed, solar wind, striking oxygen in the lunar soil, forming fragile molecules of hydroxyl that gathered, molecule by molecule, into hints of water. You bend closer in thought. Every grain of lunar ice is not just frozen water, it is a relic of cosmic travel. Each crystal may once have drifted between stars, a fragment of a comet's heart. Each drop is a time capsule, holding the fingerprints of ancient chemistry, a story of how the solar system built itself. To touch it would be to touch a memory written, not in ink, but in molecules. And yet, this water is more than memory. For future travelers, it is a promise. Water means survival. It can be melted to drink. It can be split into hydrogen and oxygen fuel for rockets, breath for lungs. To find water on the moon is to find the possibility of settlement, of outposts, of life beyond Earth's cradle. Imagine standing here centuries from now, not as a lone explorer, but as part of a settlement. Solar panels arching above the rim, machines designed to harvest the frozen soil, distilling vapor from shadow. Imagine tanks filling slowly with liquid, the first reservoirs of an off-world civilization. What was once hidden becomes the foundation. What was once a whisper becomes survival, but it is not simple. The shadows that guard this ice are also perilous. The temperature difference between day and night, between the blazing rim of a crater and its frozen heart, is extreme enough to warp metal, to strain machines, to threaten life. A few steps in sunlight and you stand in searing heat. A few steps into the shadows and you fall into an unearthly cold. The boundary is not forgiving. To harvest water here requires patience, ingenuity, and a willingness to embrace both extremes. Still, there is beauty in the thought. Consider this paradox. In a place without atmosphere, without seas, without rain, the very absence of warmth has become a refuge for water. It is the cold itself that saves it. What would be fragile on Earth becomes enduring here. In silence and stillness, the crystals last. You realize that survival in this world is not about abundance, but about stillness, about finding a place where nothing ever changes. Close your eyes and imagine scooping a handful of lunar soil from the crater. Floor. Between the grains of dust, nearly invisible, lie flecks of ice. They do not sparkle like diamonds. They are dull, faint, almost lost in the gray, and yet they are as precious as any gem. They hold within them not just the possibility of life, but the echo of cosmic wanderings. They are pieces of the universe's story, preserved in a vault of eternal shadow. On Earth, water is movement. Rivers rush, rain falls. Waves rise and fall endlessly against the shore. But here, water is stillness. It does not flow. It does not sparkle. It waits. It endures. It teaches you that water is not always a river or a sea. Sometimes it is simply the possibility of what might be. And as you stand on this edge between blazing sunlight and frozen shadow, you feel how fragile these reservoirs are. A single mistake, a single intrusion, could release them into the void. They could vanish, evaporating under the touch of sunlight, lost forever. Preserving them is a responsibility, a quiet promise to the future. For in this ice lies not only the chance of survival, but also the story of how life itself may spread from one world to another. You breathe in deeply, though the air you breathe is borrowed, carried from Earth. And you wonder if water exists here, hidden in the shadows of a moon. Where else might it exist? Could other worlds hold their own frozen secrets, waiting for discovery? Mars, with its polar caps, the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, where oceans lie buried beneath crusts of ice. The cosmos begins to feel not barren, but quietly generous. Hiding its gifts in unexpected places, the moon's ice becomes a doorway to imagination. You begin to see water not just as a liquid you drink, but as a universal thread, weaving together planets, comets, and moons. Every drop on Earth, every flake of lunar frost, every frozen ocean deep in space, they may all share a common origin, born in the hearts of stars, scattered across galaxies by explosions, carried on comets like seeds of possibility. Here, in the silent crater, the lesson is simple yet profound. Even in the harshest landscapes, traces of gentleness remain. Even in the coldest shadows, something as soft as water can survive. And so, you linger a moment longer, your thoughts tracing the delicate balance between fragility and endurance, between what is hidden and what is found. Perhaps the water waits not just for discovery, but for meaning. Perhaps it holds a future, where humanity learns not only to use it, but to honor it as a gift from the stars, as a connection between worlds, as a reminder that even in silence, life finds a way to leave its trace. The shadow stretches around you, vast and unbroken. The stars above glitter, unblinking. Somewhere deep in the crater floor, ice lies in silence, unchanged for eons. You cannot help but wonder what other secrets are hidden here. What other forces shape this barren yet beautiful world dot? And as you step back from the crater's edge, your gaze drifts upward to the sky beyond the rim, to the emptiness that stretches, further than thought itself. For water is not the moon's only secret. Above you, unseen but present, lies something even stranger. A silence that is not just quiet, but absolute. The silence of a world without air, where sound itself cannot travel. There is no air here, yet storms arrive in silence. Invisible waves of radiation and solar wind wash across the lunar plains. They charge the dust, making it leap and dance in ghostly arcs. You walk beneath a storm you cannot hear, only feel. Stand still for a moment, letting the silence wash over you. The moon offers no breeze, no rustle of leaves, no sigh of wind against your ear. And yet, storms come here, storms without sound, storms without clouds, storms that never touch the ear but brush against your very being. They arrive invisibly, carried from the sun, sweeping through the vast emptiness of space, touching this silent world with both danger and wonder. You cannot see them in the air, because there is no air. You cannot hear them approach, because there is nothing to carry their sound. But if you wait long enough, you begin to feel their touch, not on your skin, but in the charged particles that coat the surface, in the restless dust that stirs, though no wind moves it. A strange storm, a storm of energy, crossing the borderless sky. The sun does more than shine. Beyond the golden rays that light your path, it sends out streams of particles, a constant wind of plasma flowing outward in every direction. On Earth, you never truly notice, because your atmosphere and magnetic field form a kind of invisible shield, bending these streams, protecting your body from their strength. But here on the moon, nothing shields you. No blanket of air, no magnetic cocoon. The solar wind strikes directly, brushing the naked surface, leaving its fingerprints on every grain of dust. The dust responds in ways that almost feel alive. Each particle, small as a whisper, becomes charged with electricity. Some repel one another, lifting slightly above the surface, then falling again. To your eyes, it looks like nothing moves. But to delicate instruments or to astronauts who once noticed their suits strangely coated after long journeys, the truth is clear. The dust itself begins to dance. Imagine standing in a desert where no wind blows, yet the sand still shifts. Imagine each grain rising not because of air, but because of invisible energy striking from the sky. This is the moon's storm, a storm without motion, a storm made of forces you cannot see, but which change everything around you. There are other storms too, deeper, quieter, more dangerous. Radiation from beyond the solar system travels here. As well, cosmic rays, ancient travelers born in the explosions of distant stars. They too strike the surface, unsoftened, unstoppable. On Earth, your atmosphere acts as a shield so strong you never notice them. Here, you stand exposed beneath a constant rain of invisible arrows. They pierce not the body in any way you can. Feel immediately, but over time, they leave their mark, altering cells, whispering damage in silence. And yet, this storm is not only a threat, it is also beautiful. The same solar wind that lashes the moon is what paints Earth's skies with auroras. In your home world, the magnetic field funnels particles toward the poles, where they strike the atmosphere and create curtains of green and violet light. Here, on the moon, there is no curtain. There is only the direct kiss of the storm itself. And though you cannot see its colors above your head, you can imagine them. A silent reminder that even emptiness is never truly empty. You begin to walk again, your boots pressing softly into the regolith. You picture the unseen storm rushing across your helmet, passing through the rocks, stirring the dust in restless arcs. The surface of the moon has lived beneath this bombardment for billions of years. Every grain of soil has been touched, weathered not by rain or wind, but by radiation. That is why the dust is so sharp, so glass-like. It has been shattered and sculpted by countless invisible storms. You walk across a surface that is, in truth, a memory of storms long past. Consider for a moment what this means. Every step you take is on ground, charged and altered by cosmic energy. You are not just walking across rock, you are walking across a silent record of the sun's breath, of stars exploding light years away, of the ceaseless exchange between space and matter. Each footprint you leave presses into that long memory, your presence briefly added to the conversation between storm and stone. You pause again and let your mind drift. What does it mean to exist beneath storms you cannot hear? On Earth, storms announce themselves with sound and motion. You smell the rain before it falls. You hear the thunder before it arrives. But here, no warning comes. Only instruments can tell you when the solar wind has grown fierce, when a solar flare has unleashed a surge of energy across space. Astronauts once sheltered inside small modules, wrapping themselves in walls of water or shielding, hiding from storms that could reach them in hours. To be here is to live in constant conversation with the invisible, knowing safety depends not on what you can sense, but on what you must imagine. And yet, your body itself is part of this interaction. The solar wind can make static buildup, sparks invisible to your eyes. Dust clings to you because it is charged, drawn to your suit, sticking like memories you cannot brush away. Even when you return inside a shelter, the dust follows, carrying the fingerprints of the storm. It is as if the moon refuses to let you leave untouched. You wonder about future travelers. They too will walk here beneath these storms. They will build habitats and machines, each needing protection from invisible forces. They will study the radiation, seek to shield themselves, design ways to live with the storm rather than fight it. Perhaps one day, they will even learn to use the storm's energy to harvest power from the solar wind, to transform danger into survival. And as you imagine this, you realize the storms are not only threats, they are teachers. They remind you, that even in silence, the universe is active. Even in stillness, forces move unseen. Just because your eyes and ears cannot sense them does not mean they are absent. The world is richer than your senses alone. It holds entire landscapes of invisible experience. You walk further, and your imagination deepens. What if these invisible storms were visible, like clouds forming above the horizon? Would you see curtains of light flowing across the moon sky, shimmering arcs bending with the sun's breath? Would you walk beneath a sky painted with ghostly rivers of energy? Perhaps it is better they remain unseen, for their hidden presence teaches patience, humility, and wonder. The storm also links you to Earth in quiet ways. While you stand here in silence, your home world is also feeling the storm. Auroras ripple across its poles. Satellites adjust to shield their circuits. Radio signals bend and crackle under the weight of solar energy. The storm connects the worlds, weaving an invisible thread from the sun to the earth, from earth to the moon, from the moon back to the stars. You are part of that thread, standing at its edge, aware in ways few have ever been. The storm continues. Endlessly, it will not stop. Long after you leave, long after this chapter of exploration is done, the storms will go on, striking the moon, reshaping the dust, whispering their silent messages into the stone. To walk here, even once, is to join that timeless story. You take another breath, though no air surrounds you, only the air carried within your suit. You listen, though there is no sound. You feel, though there is no touch. And in this paradox, you discover something new. Storms are not always what they seem. They can be violent without movement, dangerous without form, eternal without notice dot. And as you let that realization settle, you sense another question rising quietly, like the next step on a journey. If storms can be invisible, if silence can carry danger and beauty alike, then what of the hidden forces beneath your very feet? Forces not in the sky, but in the moon's own heart, deep and ancient, waiting still. Every crater is a scar, every valley a memory of collision. Meteors still fall, striking with sudden violence in the silence. The ground itself whispers of its history, written in shattered stone. You trace these echoes, sensing how fragile existence truly is. You walk across the moon, and beneath your boots, the surface feels steady, ancient, unchanging. Yet, the ground you step on is not truly still. It is a record and archive of violence written across billions of years. Each hollow, each jagged rise, each cratered basin holds the memory of something that once came screaming from the dark. The moon, unlike Earth, never learned to hide its wounds. It has no oceans to wash them away, no winds to smooth them, no forests to grow across them. Here, time does not erase. It preserves. You pause at the edge of a crater and feel the way. The land falls away suddenly. The rim curves downward like the lip of a bowl. You imagine the moment it was born. Long ago, perhaps before life even stirred in Earth's oceans, a fragment of rock or ice or metal came racing across the void. It traveled for millions of years, untouched, until it met the moon. In a single heartbeat, the landscape was rewritten. Stone melted, dust lifted, and a wound was carved into the surface that still remains. What you see now is not just a hole in the ground. It is the shape of an event, frozen forever in silence. Everywhere you look, the scars continue. Large craters overlap with smaller ones, like ripples that never faded. Some basins stretch for hundreds of miles, so vast that you can stand inside them and not realize you are within a crater at all. Others are shallow pockmarks, no wider than your arms could reach. Together, they tell the same story. The moon has been under constant bombardment, a target of chance in a cosmic shooting gallery. On Earth, you would not see such scars so easily. Our planet has water that erases, wind that reshapes, volcanoes that rebuild. Even the continents themselves drift and move, covering the traces of what struck them. But the moon does not heal. Every strike remains, one upon another, building. A layered memory of collisions that go back almost to the birth of the solar system. In this way, the moon is like a diary kept faithfully for 4.5 billion years. Never edited, never torn. You bend down and let your fingers brush over. The regolith, the fine dust that covers the surface. It is sharp, brittle, broken into tiny shards. Each particle is the result of impact. Over time, meteors did not just carve out craters. They shattered rock into fragments, then ground those fragments into powder with every new strike. There is no smooth sand here, no rounded grains from rivers or seas. Each grain is jagged, as if freshly broken glass, the product of sudden violence. The dust is not soft, though it looks that way under the light. It is the residue of endless impacts, still restless, still ready to cling. If you look up, the sky above is perfectly still, perfectly dark, yet you know it is never truly safe. Meteoroids continue to travel through space. Even now, small ones fall, peppering the surface. They move too quickly for you to see, too fast for the eye to track. They arrive without warning, without sound. Only later do they leave their mark, another small crater, another whisper in the long record of collisions. To walk here is to walk. Beneath an invisible rain, one that falls slowly but never stops. Think of the energy contained in these falling stones. A pebble-sized meteor, traveling faster than a bullet, can release the force of an explosion when it strikes. A larger one, the size of a car or a mountain, can alter landscapes permanently. On Earth, we know such events have shaped history. Extinction of the dinosaurs is one memory written into our own planet. On the moon, these events are visible everywhere. Reminders that worlds are shaped by sudden catastrophe as much as by slow erosion. You walk along the edge of another crater, deeper and wider than the last. Its walls glow faintly in the sunlight, jagged and sharp. You imagine standing here in the moment of its creation. A flash brighter than anything the eye can bear. A burst of heat, stone turned to liquid in an instant, thrown high into the sky before falling back as a ring of debris. It must have sounded like thunder, if only there were air to carry sound. But here, in silence, the violence passes unheard, leaving only its form behind. This is the paradox of the moon. It looks still, but it is born of motion. It appears calm, but it is scarred by violence. Each crater is a contradiction, a circle of emptiness that is also full of meaning. To walk here is to see time differently, not as years or centuries, but as layers of memory stretching across eons. You close your eyes and picture the moon as it once was, in its earliest days. A molten sphere, glowing with heat, still gathering material from the disk of dust around Earth. The impacts then were greater, more furious. Entire mountains could be created or destroyed in a single strike. Oceans of lava spilled across the young moon, filling basins with dark volcanic rock that we now call the Maria, the seas. Even those seas were shaped by impact, for it was the largest collisions that created the basins where lava later spread. What you see as smooth plains from Earth's night sky are not calm seas at all, but the scars of titanic impacts, healed only by fire. There is a kind of humility that comes from standing in such a place. The moon reminds you of fragility. You feel small, but also connected. For if the moon bears scars, so too does Earth, though many are hidden. And you are here because of these collisions as well. The very existence of the moon, according to the leading theory, comes from an impact when a Mars-sized body once struck Earth billions of years ago. From that catastrophic event, debris was thrown into space, coalescing into the moon we know. See, in a sense, without impact, the moon would not exist. Without impact, perhaps life itself would have unfolded differently. As you trace the outlines of the craters with your eyes, you realize you are not just looking at destruction. You are looking at creation. The violence that shatters also shapes. The collisions that wound also form. The solar system itself, all its planets and moons, were assembled by impact, tiny grains merging, colliding, sticking together until worlds were born. Destruction and creation, loss and birth, are not opposites. Here, they are partners, inseparable, eternal. You walk deeper into the basin of a crater, and the airless silence makes you more aware of your own breathing. Each inhale echoes inside your helmet. Each exhale fogs slightly before vanishing. Around you, the walls rise, enclosing you like an amphitheater built not by human hands, but by the cosmos itself. You are a spectator, standing in the center of a story billions of years old, one that continues even now. There is another thought that comes to you here: memory. If every crater is a memory of an event, then the moon is a library of memory itself. Each mark is a page, each scar a line of text, written not in ink, but in stone. To study the moon is to read the story of the solar system's past. It tells us when bombardments were heavy, when quiet times came, when fire reshaped the land. It is not a gentle story, but it is honest. The moon does not hide what happened to it. It shows us, without words, what time can do. You climb slowly out of the crater and stand again on the rim. From here, the land stretches out like a sea of scars, overlapping circles fading into the horizon. The light of the sun is sharp, making each shadow long and precise. You feel as though you are walking across a photograph that has never aged, an image preserved by the absence of change. And yet, even as you stand there, you know another impact will come someday. Perhaps tonight, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps long. After humanity has vanished, another crater will be carved, another scar added to the record. The story never ends. It only continues. The moon will keep its diary open, page after page, written in silence. You breathe deeply and feel the weight of that thought. The impacts that shaped the moon are not only its history, but also its future. And in that, there is a reminder for you too, that fragility and resilience are bound together, that even scars can hold beauty, and that memory itself can be a form of survival. The ground beneath you is broken, but it endures. The silence around you is deep, but it speaks. And as you listen, you wonder what other forces, unseen but always present, continue to shape this world in ways you cannot yet see. The far side of the moon always hides from Earth's gaze. It is not darker, but lonelier, cut off from constant connection. Here, silence is deeper, the stars brighter, the sense of mystery stronger. You realize the moon keeps secrets we are only beginning to touch. You begin to imagine the moon turning slowly before you, as if inviting you to walk further into its quiet mysteries. From Earth, you see only one face, the same craters, the same seas of stone, the same familiar marks that have been gazed upon for thousands of years. But there is another side, one you never see, the far side. Some call it the dark side, though that name is misleading. It is no darker than the side that shines upon us each night. Light still washes over it. The sun still burns across its plains. Yet it remains hidden. A world that exists just beyond your sight. Always there, always waiting, but never revealed to the naked eye. The far side of the moon is locked away because of a strange dance tidal locking. Over billions of years, the Earth's gravity slowed. The moon's spin until its rotation matched its orbit. Now, the same face is always turned toward us, like a companion who never looks away. Imagine standing in a room with a friend who circles you endlessly. yet always showing the same profile, never turning fully, never revealing the other side. That is how the moon greets us, half known, half veiled. When spacecraft first revealed photographs of the far side in the late 1950s, humanity gasped. What was unveiled did not look like the face we know. It was rougher, scarred with more craters, lacking the wide, dark Maria, those basalt plains we see from Earth that formed the familiar face. The far side is more ancient, more battered by impacts, a place where time has etched itself more deeply. Looking upon those images was like meeting a sibling you never knew existed, carrying a story untold. Here, silence deepens. On the near side, Earth is always in the sky, a constant companion hanging above the horizon. But on the far side, Earth is gone. Imagine standing there, beneath the stars, and knowing that the blue planet, the home of oceans and forests and voices, never rises, never sets. The sky is filled only with distant suns and the curve of the Milky Way, unbroken by the comforting glow of your world. The loneliness of that horizon feels heavier, like being a traveler far from home, surrounded by beauty, but cut off from familiar warmth. This solitude gives the far side a special quality. For scientists, it is a perfect listening place. Without Earth's radio noise, its hum of technology, its constant static, the far side is a sanctuary for radio telescopes. Here, instruments could listen to the whispers of the universe, ancient signals from the time before the first stars lit up the cosmos. Imagine a telescope stretched across a far-side crater, listening not to voices, but to the faint background hum of creation itself. The far side is not just hidden. It is quiet in a way nowhere on Earth can be. Walking across this terrain, you would notice differences. The ground feels older. Craters overlap craters, scars upon scars. It tells of an era when the solar system was wilder, when debris rained down, carving valleys and mountains with sudden violence. Each mark is a memory, each ridge a story. Unlike the near side, the far side never invited seas of molten lava to rise and fill its wounds. It stayed rugged, scarred, raw. It is the moon as it once was, preserved like an ancient fossil dot, and yet, despite its roughness, there is a haunting beauty. Imagine climbing one of its mountains and looking outward. No Earth in the sky, only the deep black of space. The stars here seem sharper, more piercing, because no atmosphere blurs them. Their light feels closer, as though you could reach out and touch them. This view makes you feel small, but in a tender way, like standing in a cathedral of endless night, where silence itself becomes a kind of music. You pause to reflect on what it means to call it the dark side. Humans gave it that name not because of its lack of sunlight, but because of its secrecy. Darkness here is a metaphor. We fear what we cannot see. We wonder about what is hidden. And so, the far side became a canvas for imagination. Myths, stories, songs all built upon the thought that something unknown lingers, just beyond the gaze of Earth. But science revealed that it is not a place of monsters or mystery beings. It is simply another face of the same companion. The darkness is not in its soil, but in our limited view. Still, mystery does not vanish with knowledge. Even now, the far side holds secrets. Could hidden craters shelter deposits of ice, locked away in shadows untouched by light? Could future explorers build observatories there, away from Earth's noise, to glimpse the early universe? The far side is a frontier, not because it is unreachable, but because it asks us to imagine new ways of listening, seeing, and learning. As you walk in your mind across its plains, you notice how isolation sharpens your awareness. Without Earth in the sky, you turn your gaze outward. The far side forces you to look not backward at home, but outward into the cosmos. It whispers, there is more than your world, more than your familiar horizon. Here, the moon becomes not just a mirror reflecting sunlight to Earth, but a window pointing you toward the wider universe. There is something meditative in this solitude. You feel the stillness of craters filled with shadow, the way dust lies undisturbed for eons. Each grain of regolith rests quietly until disturbed by a meteor or the faint stir of solar wind. You realize that time here feels different. On Earth, change is constant. Oceans move, winds reshape landscapes, rivers carve valleys. But on the far side of the moon, change is rare, almost reverent. It teaches patience. It teaches endurance, and yet there is fragility too. One large impact can transform a landscape forever. Silence does not mean safety. Stillness does not mean permanence. The far side, with all its scars, reminds you that even what seems eternal can be rewritten in an instant. As you linger here in thought, you sense the pull of connection. The far side may hide from Earth, but it is still bound to it. The two worlds are tied in a gravitational embrace, forever locked, forever circling. Separation is an illusion. Even in absence, there is a relationship. The hidden side and the seen side are one moon, one body, one story. The mystery is not about division, but about wholeness. This realization softens you. The far side is not a place of fear, nor of shadow, but of perspective. It asks you to imagine what lies beyond your first glance. It asks you to honor what is unseen, but still real, what is hidden, but still present. To walk here in your mind is to learn the gentle lesson that every companion, every world, every life has dimensions beyond what you see. Now, as the imagined dust settles beneath your feet, you feel the silence deepen once again. Stars shimmer, above sharp as crystal. The Earth remains hidden, but you know it is there, just beyond the curve, just beyond the horizon, waiting for your return. The far side is not dark. It is a reminder that mystery lives in every hidden place, not to frighten you, but to invite you to keep looking, keep listening, keep wondering. And so, you breathe in the silence. You let the vastness wash over you. The moon turns still, revealing only half its truth to your eyes. Yet you sense the wholeness beneath it, all the union of light and shadow, presence and absence. You begin to wonder what lies even farther away. If the far side of the moon holds this much quiet wonder, what secrets do the other moons, the planets, the spaces between stars hold? If one hidden face can change how you see the universe, what might happen when you look beyond the familiar? Horizon altogether? Now you arrive at the place where all dangers meet. Dust, shadow, radiation, cold, and heat converge in one fragile balance. It is dangerous, yes, but it is also beautiful, alive with mystery. As you stand there, you feel both small and infinite. Have walked across many lunar landscapes in your journey. You have stepped into the brilliance of the sun's blazing heat. You have drifted through the stillness of shadow, where ice hides, frozen and fragile. You have stood beneath invisible storms of solar particles and traced the ancient scars of cosmic impacts. You have even reached the far side, the hidden hemisphere that forever turns its face away from Earth. But now, you come to a place unlike any other, a place where all those extremes converge. A place where the moon shows you its full danger, and yet its deepest beauty. It is called the Terminator. Not a name of violence, but of balance. Here, the line divides day from night. On one side, the lunar surface bakes under the unfiltered sun, temperatures soaring above the boiling point of water. On the other side, eternal night clings with icy silence, plunging the ground into deep colds more bitter than Antarctica's heart. And right along this boundary, the thin twilight that circles the moon, everything the moon meets in delicate collision. You stand there now. One step to your left, and the ground burns beneath imagined feet. One step to your right, and a shadow swallows you into a cold beyond imagining. Yet here, balanced between extremes, you feel as if the moon itself is holding its breath. The ground shimmers faintly. Dust lies in a strange suspension, disturbed by forces you cannot see. The solar wind, invisible, glances across the surface, carrying with it whispers of energy from the sun. The dust becomes charged, each grain like a tiny planet repelling its neighbors. They rise, they hover, they drift and fall again, like a faint veil of ghosts. This is no gentle mist, though it is sharp, relentless dust, fine as powdered glass, ready to scratch, to cling, to pierce the seals of future explorers' suits. As you breathe slowly, you realize that here is where everything dangerous gathers. The dust is restless. The temperature gradient is brutal, shifting by hundreds of degrees within just a few steps. The radiation flows steadily, unhindered by the atmosphere or magnetic field. And even gravity, that gentle lunar pull, seems too weak to hold these forces firmly in place. It is a crossroads of peril. And yet there is beauty. The horizon glows with a strange silver fire. Astronauts once described a horizon glow, a curtain of light rising above the lunar surface where the sun barely peaks. No air is here to scatter the light, and yet dust particles scatter it instead, lifting a halo that seems almost like the moon's secret breath. You gaze upon it, and it feels like standing at the edge of a dream reel, and yet not quite belonging to Earth's world. The danger is real, though. Imagine yourself here, not as a drifting soul, but as a traveler in a fragile suit. The sun presses, heat against your left side, threatening to overwhelm your cooling system. Your right side just steps away, plunges into cold, draining warmth from metal and bone alike. Your visor shields your eyes from radiation, yet each particle that strikes your body leaves a trace, a silent reminder of the constant storm. You stand in the most dangerous place, but also the most revealing. For here, you see not just the moon's extremes, but the truth of existence itself. Life, too, is lived at the edge of balance, between too much and too little, between burning intensity and silent cold, between chaos and stillness. And like this lunar Terminator, you walk through your days always in motion, always adjusting, always seeking the fragile twilight where you can breathe. The ground beneath you is marked with small craters. Some are sharp-edged, recent scars of meteoroids that arrived with sudden violence. Others are softened, worn down by eons of dust sliding into their bowls. The craters remind you that danger does not only come from heat or cold, but from the sky itself. At any moment, the silence could be broken by a rock speeding faster than sound, carving a new wound into this already scarred land. You realize safety here is never permanent, and yet again, you are struck by the paradox. The same place that threatens is the place that inspires. Imagine building a small base along this border between day and night. The sun forever on the horizon, neither rising nor setting, casting long shadows that stretch endlessly. Solar panels would drink in power, never losing sight of light. Shadows nearby would preserve water ice, tucked in craters like hidden wells. It is dangerous, yes, but it is also practical. A Terminator becomes not only a symbol of danger, but of possibility. You picture a human standing here, decades from now, gazing at Earth, hovering above the horizon. Their heartbeat steady, their voice calm through the radio. Around them, the environment strains to crush, to freeze, to burn. And yet, within the thin walls of their suit, life endures. Humanity endures. It is a fragile miracle, but a miracle nonetheless. As you stand in the silence of imagination, you listen closely. You almost expect to hear the crackle of dust leaping, the faint hum of radiation, the low groan of temperature-strained rock. But the moon is silent, always silent. The storms here are invisible, the violence hidden beneath stillness. It is a silence more profound than any you have ever known. You close your eyes. The balance of heat and cold feels like a balance within yourself. The harshness of radiation feels like the harshness of thought. The sharp dust is like memory clinging, difficult to release, sometimes cutting when you least expect. And the thin twilight glow is like hope, soft, shimmering, fragile, but present even in the harshest place. The most dangerous place becomes a mirror. Not a place to fear, but a place to see yourself in another way. To see how fragile existence is, yet how persistent. To see how balance is not weakness, but strength. To see how even in the silence of danger, beauty endures. And so you breathe. You let the silence fill you. You let the danger remind you of your own smallness, your own resilience. You stand at the border of extremes, and you are still. Time passes. Differently here. Minutes feel like hours, hours like days. Shadows stretch across the land, moving slowly as the moon continues its endless rotation. The Terminator is not fixed. It glides across the surface, circling the moon once every month. You realize, even danger moves with rhythm. Even the harshest environment has a pattern, a cycle, a flow. You imagine yourself walking along with it, following the twilight as it creeps across the surface. Always staying at the edge, never in full heat, never in full cold. Like walking with balance itself. Like living in harmony with the narrow band, where life could one day exist. The dangerous place is not only here on the moon, it exists on Earth, too. On mountaintops where thin air makes each breath a challenge. On deserts where heat sears during the day and cold bites at night. On oceans where storms rise without warning. And yet, humans travel there, live there, even thrive there. Danger does not erase beauty, it reveals it. You open your eyes again, and Earth waits above you. A reminder that you are not alone. That even in the most dangerous place, you are connected to oceans, forests, cities, and people who live under their own skies of balance. The moon's harsh twilight is only a reflection of the balance you already know God. And as you look forward, you realize the journey is not over. The dangerous place is only one stop. There are still questions to ask, mysteries to uncover. You feel the pull of curiosity leading you onward, toward what comes next. The most dangerous place is where danger and beauty meet, where silence hides storms, where balance becomes survival. And you are standing there, quietly listening, breathing, and as you take one last look at the shimmering horizon glow, you wonder. The moon reflects not just sunlight, but human longing. Its dangers mirror our fragility. Its silence echoes our inner quiet. On its surface, we see both survival and wonder intertwined. Here, you begin to dream of home and beyond. You stand once, more upon the silver plains, gazing outward, but now your gaze feels as though it bends back toward you. The moon has shown you much its storms without sound, its scars of ancient violence, its frozen secrets tucked away in eternal shadow. And yet, as you walk here under the light of distant suns, you begin to realize that every discovery carries a reflection. The moon, in its silence, is not just a celestial body. It is also a mirror patient, unyielding and profoundly honest. When you look at its surface, what do you see? Perhaps at first only rock and dust, a landscape so different from the blue-green curve of Earth. Yet linger long enough, and you notice something else. The way its desolation speaks to your own moments of solitude. Its craters, deep and circular, are like the memories you carry, the sharp impacts that once hurt, now softened by time into quiet marks of survival. Its plains, wide and smooth, are like the stretches of calm that follow storms when you catch your breath and marvel that you endured. The moon is not alive in the way Earth is. There are no oceans, no winds, no forests. Yet strangely, it feels alive when you stand here. Perhaps that is because you cannot help but project your own life. Upon it, it becomes a canvas, waiting to hold the shape of your fears and your dreams. When you look at the moon, you are also, in some small way, looking at yourself. Consider the way it shines. The moon has no light of its own. It glows only because it reflects the sun. And still, it has captured humanity's imagination for tens of thousands of years. Poets wrote verses in its glow. Sailors steered ships by its cycles. Lovers whispered beneath its soft pull. You know, of course, that what you see is reflected sunlight. But does that lessen its beauty? No, it deepens. The moon reminds you that borrowed light can still feel like your own, that reflection can be just as luminous as source. And isn't that true of you as well? You carry within you the reflections of others, the warmth of those who have loved. You, the lessons of those who have guided you, the echoes of voices that have touched your path. You may not shine with a light that is entirely separate, but the light you share is no less real. Like the moon, you are a mirror of all you've encountered, and yet somehow, mysteriously, uniquely yourself. You think again of its scars. Every crater tells a story of impact, of violence endured. The moon could not shield itself from cosmic strikes, and so it wears its history openly. Earth, too, is struck, but Earth heals. Rain falls, rivers carve, winds smooth, plants reclaim. Earth scars are erased by life. On the moon, scars remain. It reminds you of the marks you carry, the ones that never fully vanish, the ones that shaped you into who you are. The moon does not hide its wounds, and in that, it teaches a quiet lesson. To endure is also to accept what remains. Walk a little further, and you notice the silence. It is so deep, it almost rings in your ears. On Earth, silence is never truly silent. There are breezes, insects, distant hums, the soft shifting of trees. But here, the silence is absolute. And yet, instead of feeling empty, it feels full of presence, full of a meaning. It mirrors the moments when you, too, fall into silence within yourself, when words quiet down and thoughts slow, and you are simply aware of being. The moon teaches that silence is not absence. It is its own kind of presence. You pause, imagining what it would be like to live here. Astronauts once walked for only a few days, their footprints still pressed into the dust because no winds or rains will ever erase them. If you were to live on the moon, you would feel exposed, fragile, vulnerable. Radiation from the sun would be unfiltered. Shadows would fall to extremes, leaving some places colder than the coldest Antarctic night, and others hotter than any desert noon. Life here would be a delicate balancing act, a constant negotiation with danger. And isn't that, too, a reflection of human life? On Earth, you walk through invisible storms, emotions, uncertainties, losses, hopes. You balance between warmth and coldness, between safety and risk, between connection and isolation. Survival is not given. It is something you maintain, something you nurture, something you choose each day. The moon shows you your own balancing act in starker form, stripped to its essentials. It is a mirror of fragility and of strength. Look again at its cycles. From Earth, you see it wax and wane, swelling to fullness, shrinking to shadow, disappearing only to return. These phases once guided farmers, storytellers, and dreamers. You now know they are simple geometry, sunlight, and shadow falling across a turning sphere. But knowing the science does not erase the symbolism. The moon's phases mirror your own rhythms, the times you feel full and bright, the times you retreat inward, the times you seem invisible, even to yourself, only to re-emerge and renew. Its cycle reminds you that nothing is permanent, not even your own state of being. Darkness, too, is only a phase. The moon is a mirror, but it is also a reminder. When you look up from Earth, you see it as steady, constant, always there. Yet here, standing on its surface, you realize it is not constant at all. It is scarred, shifting, fragile, influenced by every passing ray of light, every gust of solar wind, every fragment of stone that falls from the cosmos. Its apparent permanence is an illusion, and so perhaps is your own. You too are shaped by forces unseen, by encounters remembered and forgotten, by time itself. And still there is beauty. The moon has been struck and scarred, but when earthlings look at it from their gardens, their rooftops, their ships at sea, they do not see ruin. They see poetry. They see wonder. They see a companion in the night sky, steady and glowing. Perhaps that is the greatest reflection of all that you, too, can be seen as beautiful, even in your imperfections, even because of them. Here, standing on this ancient mirror, you sense how deeply humans long for reflection. You build telescopes to see the far galaxies, not just to know the stars, but to know yourselves in relation to them. You look into mirrors of glass, not just to see your face, but to ask silently, who am I? You gaze at the moon, not just for science, but for meaning. The need for reflection is part of being alive. The moon offers that reflection in its silence, in its patience, in its enduring light. You feel a strange tenderness toward it, as though it were not merely a satellite of rock, but an elder sibling older, wiser, carrying its scars with dignity, showing you how to endure. For billions of years it has circled Earth, a companion in both daylight and dark. It has no choice in this orbit, yet within its constraint, it offers beauty, guidance, and reflection. Perhaps that too mirrors you. You move within your own orbits of family, of history, of circumstance, and yet within them, you also create beauty, offer love, reflect light. The moon whispers to you, though it has no voice. It says, I am not separate from you. My gravity stirs your tides. My phases stir your calendars. My silence stirs your dreams. I am a mirror, not of perfection, but of being. You breathe slowly, letting the silence settle into your body. The stars above shimmer more brightly here, unblurred by the atmosphere. The earth hangs in the sky, a fragile marble wrapped in blue. You see it differently now, not just as home, but as a reflection too. Earth mirrors the moon, and the moon mirrors you. The cycle of reflection deepens endlessly, each layer showing another. Perhaps that is why humans keep returning here, even in imagination. The moon is not just a destination in space. It is a destination within. To walk upon its surface is to walk more deeply into yourself, to notice what endures, what changes, what shines only through reflection. You stand here, knowing that in the moon's face, you glimpse your own. And yet, as profound as this mirror feels, you sense that it is not the final reflection. There is something beyond even this, something the moon only hints at in its silence. The stars pull at your gaze. The darkness between them seems to whisper of greater mysteries, still waiting. You close your eyes. The moon remains beneath your feet, steady, silent, reflective. But within, a new question stirs. If the moon reflects you so clearly, what might the greater universe reflect? At last, you lie down beneath the great expanse of lunar night. The stars feel closer, your breath slower, your body at peace. The mysteries of the moon soften into the rhythm of sleep. You drift gently, carried by silence into dreaming. You lower yourself onto the quiet surface, and the dust gives way beneath your body like a memory pressed into sand. It does not rustle, does not whisper, does not shift with air, because there is no air to move it. Only your weight changes it, and even then, The imprint feels eternal, as though the moon itself agrees to keep the outline of your rest. You are real, lying beneath a sky without horizon, beneath a black so absolute it seems to stretch beyond the idea of distance. The earth, when you turn your head, hangs like a fragile lantern, distant yet impossibly bright, carrying every sea and mountain, every forest and breath you have ever known. And as you exhale, slowly, gently, you feel the strangeness of breathing in a place that does not breathe with you. The lunar night stretches endlessly. Unlike Earth, there is no cycle of quick evenings or soft dawns. Here, the night is long too. Weeks of darkness, 2 weeks of exposure to starlight without sunrise. You lie down in this expanse, and time itself loosens its grip. The ticking of seconds feels meaningless when the shadows do not move, when the sun is absent, when the only motion is the turning of the stars around a pole you cannot see. Sleep begins to gather at the edge of your awareness, not from tiredness, alone, but from the deep calm that comes when the world is stripped of noise. Above you, the stars do not twinkle. They shine with a steadiness that feels more eternal, more solemn. On Earth, air bends their light, making them flicker like candles in the wind. But here, in the moon's silence, the stars are sharp, unwavering, endless points. Their constancy wraps around you like a blanket of certainty, and you feel your mind grow quieter beneath their gaze. Each one is a story from across the galaxy, a beam of light traveling thousands, sometimes millions of years, arriving only now to rest upon your eyes. You think of them as echoes, luminous echoes, ancient voices carried not through air, but through emptiness itself. And in this thought, you find comfort, even in silence, even across unimaginable distance. Something persists, something reaches you. Sleep drifts closer, pulled not by gravity, but by the slow rhythm of awe. The ground beneath you is colder than anything you have felt before. Without sunlight, the lunar surface falls into a darkness of temperature as well as light, sinking to hundreds of degrees below freezing. And yet, here, wrapped in the thought of human ingenuity, of protective layers and careful design, you feel warmth enough to rest. There is fragility in that, the knowledge that only thin boundaries keep life safe. But there is also beauty, because those boundaries exist at all. You are here, against all odds, lying in peace where life was never meant to survive. Dust clings. To you, lunar dust is finer than sand, sharper than ash, born of endless impacts and the grinding of stone into powder. It is restless even without wind. When touched by light, it rises, suspended, as though it has learned to dance in the absence of air. Even in darkness, it remembers. You see faint glimmers where particles catch starlight, and for a moment, is as if the moon itself exhales with you, releasing fragments of its long, silent story into the sky. Your breathing slows further. Each inhale, each exhale is a tide, moving in and out of awareness, rocking you towards sleep. Without atmosphere, there is no sound around you, and yet within your helmet, you hear the ocean of your own body. The beat of your heart, steady and calm. The flow of breath, constant and soft. It is enough. It is music in a place without music. You close your eyes for a moment, and still the sky presses against you, vast and patient. Sleep on earth comes with sounds, wind in leaves, waves. Against shore, distant voices, the hum of unseen machines. Here, sleep comes with nothing but stillness, and the stillness feels infinite. You are suspended between awareness and dreaming, between presence and surrender. Thoughts wander gently. You imagine those who first looked up from Earth, long before. Telescopes, before science gave names. They saw this same moon, glowing above rivers and deserts, whispering through tides. They too must have dreamed beneath it, feeling the pull of its mystery. Now you are here, lying where their imaginations once traveled. You carry their wonder with you, an inheritance across centuries. You remember the first humans who stood here, their footprints still pressed into the dust, undisturbed by time. You are not the first dreamer on this soil, but you are part of the same lineage, the same quiet reaching for the stars, the same desire to find meaning in silence. Their voices, their laughter, their all of it seems to echo faintly through the ground, joining your own breath as part of the moon's quiet history. The sky deepens. Stars grow more familiar, more intimate, as though they draw closer the longer you watch. The constellations shift in meaning. On Earth, they are guides for navigation, patterns for stories, companions in the night. Here, they are something else. Companions in solitude, reminders that you are not adrift, but connected, even across the vacuum, even beneath alien skies. You are part of something vast. Sleep now feels like a journey you are already taking. You sense yourself falling, not downward but inward, deeper into calm. The body loosens, the mind softens, and yet the universe feels closer, clearer. There is no separation between rest and wonder. They flow into one another like two rivers meeting in silence. And still, you are aware of fragility. The moon's dangers do not vanish simply because you lie in peace. Radiation seeps invisibly. A storm without wind. Shadows stretch colder than thought can hold. The dust, sharp and clinging, hides its hazards even in beauty. But even this awareness does not trouble you. It deepens the calm. To rest here, despite it all, is to accept the delicate balance that allows life to exist. You are not separate. From danger, you are in harmony with it. For now, the earth glows above, blue and white, swirling, alive. From here, it looks so small, so delicate, and yet you know it contains every ocean wave, every gust of wind, every forest and city, every voice that ever sang. It turns slowly, silently, a reminder of home, of belonging, of the fragile miracle of being alive. You fall asleep beneath the lunar sky, but it is Earth's light that cradles you. Softly, from above. Your breathing deepens. Inhale, exhale. The rhythm of the body mirrors the rhythm of the tides, drawn by the same moon upon which you rest. In this, you are both part of Earth and part of here, suspended between worlds. Dreams arrive gently, like shadows at the edge. A vision, waiting patiently to be seen. In your dream, perhaps you walk again across the lunar surface. Perhaps you fly among the stars, tracing the lines of constellations with your fingertips. Perhaps you sink into the dust, becoming part of the moon itself, listening to its long memory of silence and impact, of sunlight and shadow. Dreams on the moon feel different, not bound by time or weight. They are free, untethered, and luminous. And as you drift, the boundaries blur. Where does waking end and dreaming begin? Where does the moon's silence meet your own? The universe holds you gently, as though it has always been waiting for you to close your eyes here. You are not alone, though no one stands beside you. The stars are here. The earth is here. The moon is here. And your own breath, steady and calm, is here. Together, they weave a cradle, a quiet cocoon where rest becomes not just sleep, but communion with everything beyond yourself. Time fades. The long night stretches without measure, and in its stretch, you are released from the need to measure. You are simply here, simply resting, simply dreaming beneath an endless sky, and as your consciousness loosens, as sleep claims you fully, one last thought flickers softly across your mind. If the moon can hold so much silence, so much history, so much beauty, what else might the universe be holding, just beyond your reach, waiting for you to awaken and see? And so, dear traveler, our journey through the moon's most dangerous place comes to an end. We have walked together through shadow and silence, through dust that clings like memory, through heat and cold that test the very meaning of survival. Yet even here, where danger gathers, beauty does not fade. It shines brighter, like the stars that cradle this fragile world in their endless sky dot. As you drift now toward rest, remember that the moon is never just a stone above us. It is a mirror of our own fragility, and also of our courage to explore, to imagine, to dream. In its danger, we see challenges. In its silence, we hear possibilities. And in its mystery, we find the reminder that curiosity is what keeps us moving forward. If tonight's story has brought you calm or sparked a new thought, I invite you to leave your reflections in the comments below. If you feel wonder, share this journey with someone you care for. And if you wish to return here, night after night, to more voyages of science and serenity, please subscribe and let these stories find you again beneath the stars. Thank you for joining me, for listening, for dreaming. Until we meet again, may your sleep be deep, your thoughts gentle, and your curiosity endless. For the universe has so many more mysteries waiting quietly in the dark.